Hey everyone, it's your girl TeraMichelle. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Opinionated Scents, our safe space to discuss all things fragrance, whether we like them or not. Today we're going to be discussing unusual fragrances in my collection. This is kind of sort of a spring edition, as all of these fragrances are perfect for this time of year, this type of weather. However, you could also wear these fragrances year round if you want. The main focus today is to talk about those fragrances that may not have been loves at first sniff. There was something unusual, something unique, even peculiar about them that really pulled you in. These do that for me. So, if you're interested to find out what I chose, let's jump right into the video. When I think of unusual fragrances, the first house that comes to mind is Mugler. So this is fitting that our first fragrance is Aura, or the Parfum formulation from the house of Mugler. I love the packaging. I love the out of the box concept. It is not tamed. It's not predictable. And either you love it or you don't. I don't know many people who are on the fence. This is definitely one it took me a little while to even try outside the house. I knew I loved it, but wasn't sure what other people would, how other people would receive it or what other people would think. And I know people say, I wear what I want to wear. But again, I don't want to be known around the office as the girl who stinks or the girl who smells like who did it and what for. So it matters to me when I'm wearing fragrances that they are somewhat appealing, which is why I'm super afraid of oud. I don't myself know how I feel about it, but I also know that the majority of people don't like it. So it's just not a vibe for me. But when it comes to this one, it is the greenness in this. Aura has this bright, all-encompassing green vibe going on, but then it also has pear and orange blossom and woody notes. And it just works somehow. It's not too woody. It is very, very green, but they use the perfect amount. I think there's ylang ylang in this too, or lang lang, however you say that. I think that flower pulls it all together with the orange blossom, and the pear gets a chance to shine as well. This is chaos. I think this is absolute chaos, but it's controlled chaos. It's addicting chaos. It is just something else. So you have to be brave. I think you have to definitely have an open mind. I think you should sample this first because it is not a safe blind buy. Yes, it ended up working out for me, but it almost didn't. And I'm going to talk to you guys next about Un Jardin Mediterranean. This is from the House of Hermes, again, back with the Un Jardin line. That entire line to me could have been on this list. All of them are unique. All of them are very unusual how they were put together. The notes, the opening compared to the mid, to the dry down, just a really good time to be had. If you have the patience and the open mind, and open scent palette to deal with everything that's going on until you get to the finished product. So with Mediterranean, this opens up like a complete forest. I'm talking about your homesteading. You have purchased your plot of land. You have to cut down all the trees and build your log cabin and do it all from the ground up. That is what you're going to get with Mediterranean. The opening of this and even into partway through the mid is very outdoorsy, very woodsman, very Paul Bunyan to me. And then it comes together in the most romantic unisex way, because even in the dry down where it's smelling so amazing enough for me to want to wear it, it definitely still works for a man as well. So it to me is unisex, leaning very masculine in the opening and then turning into leaning a little feminine in the end. The House of Tocca for me creates so many beautiful masterpieces. And this one here, even though the opening scared me initially, I have to say I have grown to love her. From the House of Tocca, we have Amelia. Amelia, much like Un Jardin Mediterranean, opens very foresty, very green, very much chopping down trees, probably fishing, all of those kick butt things that women also do. Because in this case, I don't ever see it as unisex. Even though it's very green and very outdoorsy, it still remains feminine to me. There's always a feminine aspect there, unlike Mediterranean, which definitely pulls unisex to me, and even masculine in the opening. With this one though, there's a fig note in here. I think there's also fig leaf. There is a lot that goes on that adds a sweetness to it that keeps me occupied, that keeps my attention. So gosh, when you get to the mid of this, when you get to the dry down of this, it smells nothing like the opening, and I am completely just drawn into it. You have to be brave to get through the opening. And I'm talking specifically to the women who really love feminine fragrances like I do. And I used to discount a lot of things within a millisecond. Like, nope, that's not for me. But this is why it's important to try things on skin, because the way that it will blend with you is totally different than what it's going to do on a piece of paper. So do not discount something too quickly. I've talked about this young lady here so many times on my channel. Yes, I called a perfume a young lady. Deal with it. This beautiful thing has notes of sea salt, cypress, and tonka bean. To me, it is the tonka bean that brings it on over to the okay for TeraMichelle to wear side. This is perfectly unisex. It's Kenzo World Power. The cypress and the sea salt definitely give me forest vibes. It does. But it's that tonka bean that speaks to me, that washes over that cypress to tone down the extreme greenness, that masculinity that cypress gives me in most instances when I smell it. And the sea salt is a whole vibe. If you love Olympia, then you're already used to a salt note. So this is so good. Again, I stand by the fact that this is unisex. I want to express the equality in men and women wearing this and equally smelling amazing. This is probably my favorite Lily of the Valley fragrance. It is one that is very green, okay? Even though there's rose in here, there's jasmine in here, cyclamen in here, it's the musk that brings this thing together. At first, I really couldn't put a finger on it as to why I liked this so much, because the greenness in it, uh, it doesn't make it not feminine, but it made it like, oh, that's not for me. It's not sweet enough for me. It's not, you know, my vibe. And then I couldn't stop smelling it. Once the musk merged with me, because again, this is a fragrance that smells really good from the bottle to me, but on me, it is amazing. The addition of my chemistry with this is what brings it home for me. This is from the king of musks himself, Narciso Rodriguez, for her low. For so long, I couldn't explain to people why I love this fragrance. Other than I do like florals used and made correctly. I'm not a floral girl, but this works for me. It's the greenness with the florals, with the musk that is true perfection. But it still is one of those fragrances that when I smell it, I'm like, girl, really? Do we really like this? And my quick, immediate response is, no, baby, we love this. This one here just gives me all the vibes of wanting to be outdoors. That is not my normal vibe. I am not an outside girl. I don't do insects. I don't do most animals. So it's something else when something puts me in the mind frame to say, you know what? I want to go out. I want to walk in nature. I want to hear birds chirping, and I want to smell great while I do it. The greenness in this, the pear blossom, I think there's violet leaf in here. There's so much going on that reminds me of flowers coming into bloom. Not necessarily the nectar of them or the sweetness of them at all, but more so the greenness, earth regenerating, rejuvenating. But then there is a sweetness to it that I love. It's not too much. Y'all, this, and when you smell it, it just smells so unusual. And I cannot explain to you why I like it the way that I do. This is from the KKW Diamonds 2 collection, and it's the Green Emerald. The House of Hermes is another house that is really good at making creative, unusual fragrances. This one is L'Ombre de Merveille from the House of Hermes. So this one touts black tea, incense, and tonka bean. I am normally not an herbally, type of person I love tea to drink it, but I don't necessarily want to smell like it. And black tea is very potent. which it is in here. However, the way that it works with the incense, it's like the harshness that you can get from black tea and the really spicy off-puttingness that you can get from incense cancel each other out, and instead they give me the best qualities of both. And then you have this creamy, slightly sweet tonka bean that comes in and just makes this absolutely amazing. I'm a super fan of this. Every now and then I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't be a repurchase, but I'm going to enjoy it while I have it. And then I smell it or I wear it and I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to keep this around. It is very unusual. I don't have anything else in my collection that smells like it. I would never have picked this up based on those notes if it weren't for the fact that I already had the rest of the line and I was really curious to try them all. I'm glad I did. I took a chance on it. It's somehow aquatic to me as well. Like a watery vibe, not necessarily like an ocean vibe, but a watery vibe. And I just dig this, y'all. I can't even fully explain why, but it works for me. Back over to the House of Mugler, we have a very unique fragrance that also has a tea note, but it also has so many citruses and some, I think it's orange blossom, heliotrope. You also have some vanilla, some pepper. You have cashmere and sandalwood, white musk and amber. You have a lot going on in this fragrance. None of the notes say that they have that signature jasmine from the original Alien. However, I do feel like I get vibes of that original Alien in the deep dry down of this. But this is such a pretty fragrance. I'm so surprised. And for a while there, it was my favorite flanker because it didn't remind me anything of the original at first. The more that I spend time with this though, and I'm feeling a vibe with it, I do get hints of it in ways that are tolerable for me. This is Alien Eau Extraordinaire. And I vibe with this. I think there's tiare flower in here. I just, and the pepper is ever so slight, but it gives you a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. And against the tea, like this was just brilliant. Like there's a lot of chaos in this too when you're looking at the notes. When you look at all the florals, you look at the ton of citruses, lemon and neroli and all of that going on. And never does this become too much. Not in ways of citrus, not in ways of floral or tea or the cashmere, the sandalwood, the amber, the musk, none of that, the pepper. It just all seems to have been blended to perfection, used in the perfect amount, and it just works for me. I really want to get more into her this year, but there's so many fragrances that I'm trying to work my way through. I don't know if I'll get to her. I'm going to try though, but I'm telling you, she's very unusual in terms of all of the notes that she has and what she actually smells like. And she's also unusual for me because looking at the notes, I wouldn't necessarily think that I would vibe with her, but I do. The longer she spends time on me, on my skin, guys, the better she gets, the more I love her, honestly. Again, Alien Eau Extraordinaire from the House of Mugler. We are going to briefly talk about this fragrance that's a top 10 for life for me that I love, that has been talked about so much on this channel. This is from the House of Dossier. This is Powdery Hawthorne. They're inspired by fragrance of Tom Ford's Metalique. You guys know how I feel about this fragrance. The notes in here, aldehydes, neroli, and orange blossom. Middle notes, hawthorn, heliotrope flower, and base notes, vanilla, ambre, and Peru balsam. Look. A lot of us don't know what a lot of these things are. Like I had to look up Peru balsam because it was starting to pop up in a lot of stuff that I liked this time last year. And I'm very well versed with heliotrope now because again, heliotrope is probably becoming one of my favorite notes. And hawthorn, I had to familiarize myself with that. Aldehydes, if you've ever tried the Chanel number 5, probably the most notorious aldehydic fragrance. I love her so much. How was I supposed to know that these notes were going to create such greatness? Like, guys, I don't care if anybody else on this earth ever likes this fragrance. The way that I love this fragrance, the way that it works for me, the way that it blends with me is amazing. This isn't sexy. I can't really say that it's something that I'm looking forward to wearing, like on a date night or being cuddled. But when I smell this, it works for me. It affects me on every level. Every part of my being loves this fragrance. And I want to covet it for my own. I feel like this was made especially for me. So when I speak on how much I love it, if you don't like it, or if you've never tried it, or you're really curious, please don't automatically think you're going to love it the way that I do. This thing hits different specifically to me. I feel like it was made specifically for me. I know that it wasn't. What I'm saying is it is so confusing to me why I love this the way that I do that I'm not going to put that ownership on anyone else but me. So when I think about Powdery Hawthorne, I am constantly always thinking about being on the most pristine piece of land ever, untouched by contamination of anything or anyone. You have a pure stream of water running over rocks with all of the best nutrients and minerals that you need in your water. I keep thinking of copper. I think of, just dipping your face in that pure stream and drinking life unto yourself. Just perfection. That I guys, like, I've talked about this fragrance so much. Every time I try my best to describe it, I feel like I'm making less and less sense to anyone who is not me. So Powdery Hawthorne from the House of Dossier. I want to stay on trend with a fragrance that is almost impossible to describe. This is from the House of Dua and it's called Mojave Sand. And this one is inspired by Byredo's Mojave Ghost. So many people share that thought process with me that this is really, really hard to describe, the original and this one. But it is absolute perfection in a bottle. Guys, this makes me think of warm sand, like your feet in the best, most beautiful warm sand. It makes me think of, if you could withstand the heat, being able to touch the sun, if that makes any sense. This, it smells like a sunset. It smells like if you could fly up there and be with the clouds, all pink and purples and blues and oranges of it, reds of it, and just be one with a sunset. This is what it would smell like in that atmosphere, in that area. It's so very unusual. And this is another fragrance that once I put, it already smells amazing to me from the bottle, on a card, on a piece of paper, it doesn't matter, in the air. I put it on and something special happens. It just works for me. This is Roses Greedy from the House of Mancera. You want to talk about absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. There are so many notes in this thing. Like, please, you just, it never stops. This is a very potent rose. If you like rose, then baby, let me tell you, to me, this smells like rose petals that are wet rose petals, like a rose water, if you will, because it's very watering. And when you look at the notes list and see just how much is in it, you're thinking to yourself, but how and where all of these fruits and all of these other things? And it's so green, it's so real, it's so raw, it's passionate, it's creative, it's experimental. Next up from the House of Mancera, we're going to be talking about Juicy Flowers. Now, I absolutely love this fragrance as well. This one is much fruitier. Oh man, y'all. If you like Herba Pura from, or what is it? It's Pure Gold Nectar from the House of Dua. Pure Gold Nectar, whatever that is, an inspired by fragrance of Herba Pura Gold or whatever. I don't know because I've never smelled the original. Or if you like Jasmine Wisp, you are going to love Juicy Flowers. I don't necessarily think you need all of them, but I would choose Juicy Flowers over the other two. And I love my Dua inspired by fragrance. I love Pure Gold Nectar. I do. I absolutely adore Jasmine Wisp as well. This one just does something more. It's more pungent on the fruitiness. This just smells so good. So good. Oh my God. Give me a moment. I just need a moment. Okay, so Juicy Flowers. That's all I got. I've already mentioned her, so might as well talk about her next. This is Jasmine Wisp by Razazi. So this fragrance, again, it's the loud fruits, but this airiness, this incredible, potent vibe, like these things, Juicy Flowers and Jasmine Wisp, these things project for days and days. This one is sweeter than Juicy Flowers, a little bit more tamed, less potent, and maybe a little bit. This is definitely sexier. This one you could pull out for date night. Juicy Flowers is just in your face. You know, I want everyone to smell me, everyone to know I have arrived. Well, this one here gives off that same vibe because people are definitely going to know you have arrived, but it's a little sexier, a little sweeter, smelling them side by side like this. And in Juicy Flowers and in Jasmine Wisp, which we have here, as well as Pure Gold Nectar from Dua, I thought that there was like a very beautiful feminine oud in all three of them, something I had never smelled before. And I think it could have something to do with incense. I don't know if there's incense in any of them. I don't recall. There's so many notes in all of these, the three, even though I'm not. Pure Gold Nectar is probably on the second shelf back here because I tend to wear it more in the summertime. But with these three, there's something interesting going on. And the way that Dua does fragrances, I do believe incense is in the Dua one, which is what's making me think it has to be in this one as well as the other one. Don't hold me to that. I'm going to look that up myself. But there is something in here that smells different. The way that oud smells different. Only a clean, fresh, airy, slightly watery, pretty feminine oud, which probably doesn't exist because of what oud really is. Gross. So, yeah, Jasmine Wisp from the House of Rizazi. This is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Gentle Fluidity in Gold. In gold, y'all, because the in silver or whatever it's called is gross. So this thing, pretty for the sake of being pretty, exquisite, easy to wear, doesn't smell like anything else I have in my, or when I got it, it didn't smell like anything else I have in my collection. I've smelled a couple of dupes of these, like somebody sent me some little samples, couldn't tell you who did them or where they were from, because when I have the original of something like this, I don't need a dupe. I don't need any Delina dupes. I don't need any Baccarat Rouge dupes. I'm just, but Gentle Fluidity in Gold sits in the unusual category because I can't make sense of it based on its notes either. And it just smells good. It smells good in a way that you need in your collection, something that stands apart from everything else. Especially because in my collection, I like what I like. So there are a lot of things that are reminiscent of each other, that vibe the same, standout notes like passion flower or, kiwi or quince or something like that, where you go, okay, all 6 or 7 of these give the same vibe. Well, this one, I guess because of that incensey vibe that I get, this could be wrapped up in the same genre with the Jasmine Wisp, the Juicy Flowers, and the Pure Gold Nectar, but not because they smell alike, but because there's something in them that draws me in and I can't explain what it is. That type of vibe, that thing that I imagine somebody created specifically for me. Okay, I'm still on that mess, but again, that's Gentle Fluidity in Gold from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. We only have 3 more to go, you guys, and this one is called Haute Couture from the House of Givenchy. So, I went through a decant or 2 of this fragrance. I really, really loved this fragrance, and then I ended up getting the Eau de Toilette formulation, and purchasing this one as well because I loved the decant so much. Now, there had long been this rumor that this smelled like cigarettes. And so that's why I purchased the decant first. Because let me tell you something. Cigarettes, no thank you. I don't want to be around anybody who's smoking. Don't come around me after you smoked. It stinks. It's on your clothes. It's in your house. It's in your hair. I can't. I'm very sensitive to it. Like, it'll make my ears hurt, my throat hurt. Like, I cannot do cigarettes, right? So I was like, and who on earth would ever want to smell like cigarettes? Like, what are we doing? I got it for the sake of curiosity and just so that I could trash it on my channel if it really did smell like cigarettes. Never ever once did that decant pick that note up for me. Never did it kick off like that. By the way, my lip today is, this just popped into my head, is Coco Loco lip liner from Jordana, and I think the pink print from Nicki Minaj. Yes, the pink print. So anyway, I purchased a full bottle. First wear, want to know what I smelled? Are you kidding me? Cigarette, and it's not cigarettes. It's an ashtray. It's like after someone has smoked, maybe 3 or 4 hours have gone by. you walk into the room and you smell the ashes in the ashtray. That is the vibe that it gives off. Honey, when I smelled that, I was so mad. Yep. Okay, so that's not as bad as a live lit cigarette or a wet cigarette. So there's that. But no. But when I smell it now, because it dissipates rather quickly, it doesn't last the whole time, thank goodness, or I would have pitched this. I wouldn't have even sold it to anybody. I would have thrown it away. What I feel like is this is a fragrance I could have wore if I was alive back in the day when they were filming I was going to say the X-Files. What is it called? The Twilight Zone. I feel like all of those chicks who used to sit around smoking, chain smoking packs and packs and packs of cigarettes could have, instead of smoking, just wore this. Just be really beautiful and save your lungs and your health and just wear this for the vibe, to be a part of the cool kids. Smoking was never cool, but you know what I'm saying. Next up, we're going to talk about Valentino's London Dream. So this is from the Donna line. What I love about this line is how different every flanker is. Yes, they're going to have parts of the name that vibe the same, but Donna doesn't smell like Aqua, doesn't smell like Born in Roma, doesn't smell like this one and the new one either. So I really appreciate the fact that they all share like this beautiful glass packaging. I love the little ridges here, but that's about it. So this is London Dreams, and this is the one with the attitude, all of the personality. So many people couldn't even deal with her. They were returning her immediately. They couldn't do it, right? So I love her. Give me all the attitude. But this is the lemon and the musk. Honey, this is that musk that has animosity. This is the musk that's about that life, that wants all the smoke, and she stay ready, okay? So if you cannot deal with that vibe, if you are not about that life, you cannot handle her. This is a very potent, this is a very pungent musk in your face. And you're going to add lemon to that. You're going to be loud and bright and citrusy and zesty, and then throw on a musk that has a two-piece combo to knock you clean out. I love it. Oh, I love it. You have to be ready for this, though. So this is Valentino Donna London Dreams. Last but not least, we're going to jump over to my favorite house, Guerlain. We're going to talk about a fragrance from my favorite line, Mon Guerlain. And this one is Sparkling Bouquet. So if you watched my first impressions video or my follow-up video regarding Mon Guerlain Sparkling Bouquet, you know I wasn't a fan. I thought that this was a mediocre release, redundant. It smelled like just a basic, boring jasmine perfume, like a soapy jasmine perfume at that, which, like, seriously, no. However, what I did was I waited until it got hot outside, because this was released when it was cooler. And it didn't make any sense for me. It touted a pear note that wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, I wore this on like a 90-degree day, 85 to 90-degree day. And this thing opened up on me so wild and crazy and beautiful. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had to come back and say, yeah, wait a minute, now I didn't change my mind. Because in the video, I was like, I wonder how this will smell when it's hot. Is this something that can transform? And baby, it sizzles across my skin in that heat. Baby, this is unusual in the sense that heat activation is real in perfumery, your chemistry. And I've heard other people say that since I've put that video out. People were like, I heard opinionated sense say this. She was so right. We were all ready to declutter this thing, to get rid of this thing, or to use it up in disgust because we just couldn't understand why they released it in the first place. But baby, get her in the heat is all I can say to you. It becomes so beautiful. The pear stands out so much. It is incredible. She still would not be a repurchase for me because I'm not a fan of a fragrance that I can only wear in specific temperatures. Like, what is that? However, I mean, unless you're a gourmand, because we forgive all things for gourmands, but this isn't necessary still. It wasn't a necessary release. If that pear was present the way that it is in the heat, no matter what time of year I was wearing it, then okay. But I can't deny that, baby, she was very unusual. She really got me with that one. In the summer, this will be a fave, and I will probably go through it this summer just to go ahead and get rid of it. 17 unusual fragrances from my collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please click that like button and subscribe to the Terra Squad. I love to have you here. Also, select that notification bell so that you never miss any of my future uploads. You know it's time to talk in the comments, guys. Let me know, what are your unusual fragrances in your collection? No matter what season or occasion, I'm always interested to know what you find to be unusual, and even more importantly, why. So, as always, I can't wait to see you guys in the comments. And until then, bye.